Welcome back to my channel, Invest in Yourself. Got my cat over here. I just got back from LA and I've been wanting to record this video because I have found it to be super useful, whether you're in commercial real estate, residential, it doesn't matter. And if you're new here, I'm Gladia. I'm a commercial real estate broker based out of South Florida, and I'm sharing the real behind the scenes of living my best life, from fitness, mindset to commercial real estate. So today's video is a straight gem. I'm going to show you how I actually find property owners when the property is owned under an LLC. That can be quite a barrier when you're prospecting, especially when you make the jump to commercial where majority of the owners own it under an LLC if they're smart enough. But sometimes you get a few that is owned under an individual. That makes it easy, but we don't want the easy. If you want to get the good deals, you have to work for it. And the best part about my method is it's 100% free. You can do this with free resources. So when you're starting out, you can save on a ton of operational costs. But as you close a few deals, you can use tools such as Reonomy that comes with numbers already, CoStar, Crexy, those kinds of things. But if you're limited on a budget, definitely follow through here. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Whether you're a new investor, a broker, maybe wholesaler that wants to learn how to get in touch with these owners, direct access to the owner is super key in controlling the deal and obviously making as much money as you can and helping people, obviously, at the end of the day. Now, I'm going to show you how I do it. Now, because I am licensed in Florida, what I'm going to walk you through is what would be a process in Florida, but I'm sure you can replicate this in other markets, states. Now, Propwire, you see a lot with Jerry Norton, who's the OG of wholesaling. If you haven't caught his videos, definitely look him up. And if you're in wholesaling, he's definitely one of the first really that put wholesaling out there and documenting his process of wholesaling deals. Now, he's a partner, I believe, or is affiliated with Propwire. And the best part is it's free. So all you have to do is create an account and you're in. Now, the way to if you want to pay for it, you can have a wallet where you do skip trace and actually export data. I think you can only export certain data, but I recommend just using it, at least with the process that I do more niche than say a bulk. So with bulk, you need to buy a lot of data. And so Propwire may be one of them. But like I said, if you have Crexy, CoStar, or Reonomy, those are even better resources, especially when it comes to commercial data. So for today's example, I'm actually taking a building that was sold not too long ago. So this is an industrial building. What I love about Propwire is the information provided. Again, this is all free, which is still wild to me. So there's a property tab, owner tab, comps I wouldn't worry about for commercial history, and then market, again, may be interesting if you're learning more on this specific submarket. I don't also look at the value because again, that depends on the income and what it's bringing in, the strategy, that kind of thing. But it does give me some public information. So this is a huge building, over 103,000 square feet. It was built in the 80s. Again, I always verify with the property appraiser. Sometimes it is incorrect for whatever reason. And even then, what's in the property appraiser can be incorrect. So you always want to verify with the owner. But this gives me all the information, how much they pay for taxes, things that I can have when I'm having a conversation with them to confirm. And then we go to my favorite tab, the owner tab. This gives you the LLC that it's owned under, the mailing address, which by the looks of it, it could be another commercial. So what I love about this tab is it tells a story. You're not just looking at, okay, when did they buy it, sell it, or whatnot. You're looking at what other properties are linked. Now, this was my favorite feature provided by PropStream is, okay, we see that they own this building, but what else do they own that I can either ask them about or dig deeper? So sometimes different properties are owned under different LLCs. So this specific building is owned under Silver Star. Let's see if this one is owned under Central 88. So if I'm having a rough time finding any contact information on this LLC, I'm going to jump to this, right? So I'll do that. And sometimes owners will have their homes under their LLC. So it'll say like SFH, single family home. And I can literally go on True People search, put in their home address, and I have their information. Now, maybe that works 60, 70% of the time. Sometimes they're dead numbers, so you still have to start from scratch. But that's an easy way to gain access. But in this case, these are probably owned under either separate LLC. Building is owned under a different partnership. So this is a different one. That happens a lot. Let's see if this one is owned under a different LLC. What I love about Florida is sunbiz.org and the information that's displayed there. If you're not in Florida, opencorporates.com is also another great one that will provide you some information. But in this case, I can literally search on Sunbiz and I can find their information. This is all public information, by the way. And the registered agent is really whoever more than likely is an attorney that set up their LLC. So this is their attorney. So worst case, if I can't find the information, I can always give them a call. Does it work? Maybe. Sometimes depends on their mood, how I ask, that kind of thing. But looks like I landed on the manager who is authorized for this LLC. Now it's under a commercial building, which sometimes I'll go in here. Again, it's just being curious, clicking around. So this maybe is their main headquarters, which is another great building too. And this is owned under a different corporation. Now this is a corporation, not an LLC. So sometimes with that, it could be done under Florida, sometimes not, but it looks like, yep, this is a corporation that has all this information. So more than likely, this is a big entity. This is a big private equity group, more than likely. But let's start simple and work our way, right? I have access to their information. So what I would do is whatever the name is, I'm not going to put their name on here, but you guys can look it up, is I'm going to enter their name. I'm going to enter the state that they're in. So if we're talking about Orlando, I'm going to type in Orlando. A lot of times they will provide the middle initial. So I'll do that as well. And voila, I will get a result of numbers. Again, I'm not going to put their information, but a lot of times I will have access to their numbers. So then I save that, put that in the spreadsheet and call them and just see, hey, what's going on? I was calling you about this building here. What are your plans for it? Whatever your pitch is. And that's it. Now, sometimes what happens is the owner is deceased and maybe True People Search says they're deceased, or you can't find all their information is dead. So what I usually go from there, and what I learned from deep prospecting through one of the CRMs I use is REI Sift, is you kind of become an investigator, right? Really cool ninja trick is if you can verify that the owner of the building is deceased, is there an obituary? So what I'll do is I'll type their first and last name that I have, and then I'll put in the city and state that they're from, and I'll put in obituary. And more than likely, there's an obituary written about them, of whether they passed away 5 years ago, last year, 10 years ago. There's something there. And in obituaries, it lists they're survived by their wife, their 3 children, and they'll list out the names of their children, right? They'll list out the names of the wife, the children. And so I use that. I go back to True People Search, type in the first and last name of the children, or of the spouse, and the city and state that it said in the obituary. And a lot of times I can find access to the owner's family, right? And with that, you want to be a little sensitive, especially if it was recent. I mean, if it was 10 years ago, I usually just say, hey, I'm just reaching out about your family building on 123 Main Street, just looking to see what plans you have, how has that been going, however you want to chat about it, and you go from there. So it does take some digging. I have found that if you're willing to do the extra work, that is where the money is made, because a lot of people just skip trace, or they just look up an address and on True People Search, and if it's harder than that, they give up. They give up on the opportunity. So if it's going to require some work, then things are going to work out for you. So always keep that in mind. And I've even gone as far as going on their social medias, whether it's LinkedIn, Facebook, just to find any of their information. And I know a few people that have gone far and beyond on this. They've sent pizzas, they've done all the things, whatever it takes to just get access. And more than likely, these people aren't being hogged down by other brokers, wholesalers, because again, people don't have this system set in place. So because I'm really focused on the niche in commercial, because my thought process is, okay, as a new broker, how can I stand out amongst these large groups of like your JLLs, your Colliers, your CBREs. What are some ways for me to get in front of these owners to build this relationship, see what their plans are, and go from there? And when I reach out, more than likely they haven't been called maybe once a month, and I'll take that over 5 times a week. So that is how I go deep on finding real owners of commercial properties. And what's really great is it's all for free. I can do it from my laptop. I can do it from my phone. It may take longer for my phone, but you can literally do this from anywhere. Now, it does take a little bit of time, as I mentioned, but this is the type of work that separates you from the rest. Because believe me, people aren't taking that extra step to prospect for these owners. Now, if you found value in this, hit that button, subscribe if you haven't, and let me know in the comments if you've done anything to this effect or if this is your first time hearing about this. I'm very curious. Happy to do another video on once I gather the information, how I go about having those conversations. If you're into leveling up, I'm documenting my full journey, commercial deals, morning lifts, meditations, mindset work, because it's not just about the money. The money will come. It's about building the life that I want and doing it with a purpose. Because I'll tell you, I was in LA, and what's crazy is since I moved here to South Florida, coming from California, there was a moment there where I was like, did I make the right decision? I just really wasn't sure. I miss Cali in many ways. You know, me and my partner told ourselves, we want to live that bi-coastal life. There's no one telling us we're stuck in one location. Why can't we live in both, right? Obviously, not traveling every week, but living out of there months at a time. So when it's winter in Cali, we're out here. When it's hella hot here in South Florida, we're in Cali. And so being out there in Cali by the beach around summertime really reminded me of like the manifestation is real, and to continue working throughout my commercial real estate journey to close more deals, to really build that life for me and my family. So appreciate you guys. As I always say, invest in yourself.